Hey guys, it's Thomas and Sam here. Welcome back to Game Chat.
Yay!
Whoa!
Oh!
Explosion! So this episode we are coming back to Sister Location.
So
We've just
Decoding Sister Location Part
part
2.
two. That is a 2. Because we just finished recording some Sister Location just before. We managed to finish the minigame, but
Yeah.
couldn't. Well, we got to the program, but we didn't quite finish it.
Because we spent so long trying to get there. When
Yeah.
I say we, I mean me.
It turned out extremely simple
Yeah.
solution that didn't figure out until the
That
end.
was so bad. So, yeah, hopefully tomorrow we're gonna end up doing that. But enough of that. On to Game Chat.
Indeed.
So, I want to start out by saying two things first. One, we referenced the new Five Nights at Freddy's 6 game a couple times in the last episode, but Scott has actually cancelled that game because he felt that it wasn't going where he wanted to, and he felt he needed more time with his family. And truth is, he was getting stressed out about the game a lot as well, and that's why he stopped making it. And so no one's just going to talk about it, even the other people involved in the game. And in his Reddit post, one of the main things that he said there was that he basically fell back into the place where he was stressed out by the criticism and stuff, which was how Five Nights at Freddy's came to be. So he said he was really shocked that he let himself fall back into that area. So I think it's a good idea for him to take a break on this and also spend more time on the movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
He also had the movie and the Twisted Ones book that he was working on, so there was a lot of stuff going on. So I think he said he'll probably return to it, but it'll be different to what he originally planned it as. But I think for when he comes back to it, I think it would be better for him to do it after the movie's made so that he doesn't have so much stuff going on at once.
Yeah, it's good that Scott is having a break. He does deserve it after all this work that he's put into everything else that is going on.
Yeah, 5 games in 2 years. That's
Yeah.
a pretty good achievement.
But personally, I don't think that this is the end of the Five Nights at Freddy's games. I think that there might be another installment to the game, and that is because of the picture on the Five Nights at Freddy's World website.
Although that was leading towards the FNAF 6 game.
But it's still...
It's still up there, though.
Yeah, it's still up there. And obviously it was
Who
figured out
knows?
that it was a picture of Baby, but then if you look closely, there's parts of her plates missing, and
So it's
been
basically
slightly
like a withered baby.
with a baby, sort of thing, which was
So-
going to be in FNAF 6, which I think is still coming, hopefully, because, yeah, he does need a break.
Yeah,
and
but
does-
he's just taking
Yeah.
a break, a bit of time off, so hopefully he'll get back around to it. He said he might get back around to it, but it won't be the same as what he originally planned.
As you said, the criticism may have got to him, but that is what this whole FNAF thing started off with.
Because it was all about the entire Chipper Sons and Co thing not looking cute at all, and that they all look like creepy animatronics, and that's where Scott came up with the idea. In his lowest moments in his game-making career, what if I made a creepy game with creepy animatronics? And that's how he came to fame. So, and how Five Nights at Freddy's came around. So yeah. And another thing he said is because he really enjoyed making Five Nights at Freddy's World. So I think, because he also said that he might make something a bit more fun, something a bit more lighthearted. Don't know if it's going to have anything to do with Five Nights at Freddy's again. It might be something different, but it's good for Scott to be doing something that he wants to do.
Yeah, that's the main
Rather
point.
than what because it's good to do what the fans want, but if you're doing it to a point where you don't enjoy it, I don't think it's something you
There's
should
not
be
much
doing
point.
at all. There's not much point, because it should be something that you enjoy. So yeah, it's a good decision from Scott.
So the key message is, don't let the criticism get to you too much, but take it on board, because as Sam said, that's what led to this massive franchise that has got a lot of money. And
Not
also
just
a lot
money,
of,
just
a lot of enjoyment.
yeah.
And a lot of
He enjoyed
acknowledgement.
making the games. Yeah.
It was, yeah. And it's still continuing. It's become a massive franchise, all because people said that they didn't like what they saw in one of his games.
and like, cause we're seeing pop figures now, and like and like other little minifigures and stuff. Like that, the franchise is getting all sorts of these real life things. So yeah,
Not to mention the many fan-made games based off Five Nights at Freddy's.
and songs. Because we've got like DA Games, Manda Pony, Try Hard Ninja, people who have made so many songs based off Five Nights at Freddy's.
There's also those guys who do theories on Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, they're pretty cool as well. But yeah, it has it's become a major part of the gaming industry.
And now to my second thing that I want to say. I made a mistake last episode.
Ah!
Some of you may remember that last episode I said that Nightmare Mode of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 could not be canon because Fazbear's Fright burnt down in Night 5. It burnt down in Night 6. I got the two ending screens messed up. You get the good and bad ending at the end of Night 5, because that's when Purple Guy goes into Spring Bonnie and becomes Springtrap, and where all the crying children disappear, and
Springtrap,
get
by the way,
trapped in the
quite easy to lie.
phantoms and stuff.
Springtrap. That's right here.
So
Purple guy. Shut up. You're dead. You're dead, kid. Purple guy. Shut up.
So Night 5 had the good and bad endings, and then Night 6 had the newspaper. So Nightmare Mode could be canon.
Which is interesting. So yeah,
we have to continue something that we kind of got off topic a bit, because we did that a lot last episode. We never got to finish off looking at the Springtrap cutscene at the end of the custom night, and I don't think we finished Baby's story either, but that doesn't really, because basically that's what we see in the minigame. But if you want to, we might go back and take a look at it, but I think the Springtrap cutscene is something we really need to take a look at.
yeah, because that is a major linking factor. I mean, there's been massive linking factors throughout this whole thing, but the fact that we can see that.
Are you actually just the Golden Freddy mode video? Come on! I thought that was part of. I thought it had the cutscene in it.
Okay, so I can talk. I don't want to be interrupted by you screaming at your computer.
Found it!
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you. And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to.
That was as far as we
She's free now. But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not.
talked about the last episode.
I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
That's what I'm voices.
So basically, I only just realized that we've basically already talked about most of that stuff. So yeah. So
I just wanted to quickly say something. He said in that dialogue that he put her back together and she's free. I think that has something to do with the Pigtail Girl /
Miss Afton.
Miss Afton. But put back together. I think there was something on Game Theorist a bit back. Just a theory on what Purple Guy was doing to capture these kids and do all that was to try and reanimate his, well, he called it his daughter, but we refer to as niece because that's what we think
Mm.
she is to Purple Guy. And also, so that was just trying to explain why he would be capturing children. That's still a little bit uncertain. There's heaps of things that we're not really sure about yet, but we'll see where that goes because that's very interesting.
And yeah, at the end there, you can hear Mike Afton's voice going all robotic. So we know that this is after Mike's been scooped and turned into basically another Purple Guy in a way.
Mm.
And Will Afton's already in Springtrap, and this is just after Fazbear's Fright has burned down. As you can see, he's partially rotted and bits of him are missing, and there's smoke and stuff everywhere. Bits are burned off. So, yeah. So obviously, Mike's going to try and find Will, or Springtrap as we know him now. So, I'm not sure if that was what FNAF 6 was going to be about, or the movie. Probably the movie. I don't know.
Mm.
We don't know much about the movie yet, apart that Blumhouse Productions is working on it.
Also, another thing that I was thinking about was, is there a possibility that Enid has some control over the Afton's brains once he has become part of them, or anybody? Does he have some form of control? I mean, if they were decaying, and I guess he would have to make a move. But does he have control over their thoughts? Does he have control over their motives? And is Mike, that's it, Mike trying to find Will actually Mike, or is it Enid trying to find parts of him?
Yes.
Because yeah.
We saw last episode that there are still bits of Enid inside Will, because there's still bits holding up his skull inside Springtrap. Because when the spring lock's closed, he would have theoretically been crushed. But those metal wires are still inside Will, keeping his facial structure intact. So it could be Mike trying to find his father, or it could be Enid looking for other parts of himself to re-put himself back together.
Because we know that Enid is trying to find something. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone back into the sewer system, back to Sister location. He's trying to do something, and we have no idea really what that is. He's escaped twice, but what is he trying to do? I mean, if he's trying to kill other people, he would have done that by now. I guess he kind of has. This is where some timeline with when the children's deaths were. But what would the point of that be? It's some confusion with what Enid's motives are in this story.
Yeah, well, we know with Purple Guy that happened in between 1983 and 1987. Because in 1983 was when the bite of 83 was with Fredbear, and that's when Will's son died. Although we see him as Purple Guy, it's generally stated that purple is used for shadowing in the old Atari minigame. So in FNAF 4, the purple probably didn't necessarily mean that he was Purple Guy, although he would be in the future. It's probably just meaning that he is in the shadows and is going to turn out to be a shadowy character. Don't know.
Quickly want to put in, I've been living in the shadows. That's what Mike
yes!
said as well.
Yes!
So just quickly wanted to throw that in.
Not sure if that was intentional, but might have been. So yeah, 1983, Will hadn't been scooped yet, but then 87, we know that Purple Guy has been out and been killing, and we also know in the Night 6 phone call of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that the Golden Freddy suit has been used, because Phone Guy states that a spare suit, a yellow one, has been used. and he's, for the first time in the series, Phone Guy sounds very frantic and unsure what to do. Like, in night 4 of the first game, he was still a little bit calm and collected, but the second game he sounded really disorientated and unsure what to do. I'll bring that up now. Why is the table so far away from me?
Now that's another thing. Who are the phone guys? What connection do they have? Because we know that there's a massive family thing happening here. That but who are they? They could potentially be the technicians. Whether if they're not the other characters who you play as in the other games.
Yeah, like that's confusing because before Five Nights at Freddy's 3, or well, I don't know how long this has been going for, but it was originally thought that Phone Guy was the purple guy, but with a name out there, William Afton, thanks to the Silver Eyes and all sorts of stuff shown in FNAF 3 and 4, we know that that's not the case. Obviously Phone Guy is someone else, but we don't know who and where does he link into with the other humans in the universe, and where this comes in. We know that Phone Dude in FNAF 3 is just some random guy. He doesn't have anything to do with the game series because he's only in nights 1 and 2. Because during the rest of the game, Phone Dude plays the original audio cassette tapes from 1983 from Phone Guy, so we might end up taking a little listen to those sometime, depending on if they link in with Sister Location. But yeah.
So after 83, when the child was bitten, I believe his name was Sammy. It was announced somewhere. I don't remember where, but I think it was in the book actually.
We really need to read them.
Yeah, we have them right there.
Yeah, Tom's just got them, so
we will read them. But I think it was in the book that his name was said. But you said just quickly pointing out, you said William's son, but there's still a possibility that it was Henry's son. Because
we never know.
We know that
Scott's very secretive about the storyline.
I would like to think that it was Henry's son, because Henry went to the more severe where things taking his own life.
Yeah, because he was very depressed and got maybe to take his own life.
It makes sense because he's lost all his family pretty much at this point, other than William, whom kind of isn't really, I guess. They don't go. They're not really the best of friends at times. That we learn throughout the series. But they still are pretty friendly. But
especially since Will is trying to bring his nephew back. So I think he's trying to do something good for his brother after seeing him go into depression and killing himself. And I think he wants to do something good, although not really the best way of doing it, but he is influenced by Enid as well, so that sort of does bring
so I think that's where most of the deaths come from, is his motive to bring justice to the family, and Enid twisting it, the twisted ones, to murder and trying to bring their souls back into these other bodies. And we also, quick thing that I just realized is that William is trying to, I guess he's focusing more on Henry's son, whereas we just heard in the cutscene with Springtrap, Mike said, I put her back together, she's free. That could be the daughter, Pigtail Girl. So
the thing is, so you said that Sammy, the boy, was Henry's son, which makes sense. But you see, I'm interested about Miss Afton, like, because she could be either of them's daughter, because it makes sense for her to be Henry's daughter because of the reasons stated earlier. But if Mike was so closely related to, like, if Mike wasn't so closely related to Miss Afton, we don't know. Miss Afton could be Henry's daughter, but if he wasn't so closely related, he might not have tried to fix her. But then again, that brings in the fact that that Mike says that Will had told him to do all the stuff. So that's another thing I'm questioning though. Like, how long ago did Will tell Mike to do this, and how? Because we're not sure if the Fazbear's Fright we see in the cutscene is still freshly burned, or if it's been like that for a while. We don't know how long it's been, and we know that Will's been in Springtrap for a long time. So I don't know. It's assumed that Will was put into Springtrap during in the location in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, because the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza we see in the mini games in FNAF 3 have some sort of resemblance to the pizzeria in FNAF 1. So he could have been in there for like 10 to 20 years, we don't know, with FNAF 1 being in like 1993 or something. So he has been in there for quite a long time, so it's a bit confusing, like, how long it's been since Will turned into Springtrap, and when Will told Mike all this stuff that he had to do and all the jobs and stuff. But I'm hoping that'll be revealed later in the movie or FNAF 6, when or if it comes out.
William saying to Mike, when he was telling him where to find her, which we would assume being Baby or something similar related to
Miss Afton,
Pigtail
Pigtail Girl, whatever, yeah.
That could have been near him showing Mike the sister location for the first time, like explaining what he's been doing and why.
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
In the FNAF 4 minigames, in the house, we only ever see the boy and his older brother. Pigtail Girl lives in a completely different house, which means we can assume that she's the daughter of the other brother, so Will, because Pigtail Girl doesn't live with Sammy and the older brother.
Is that do we see her? Does she ever say that she lives in a different house, or is it ever really confirmed? Is there anything because there was that girl's room in the house with Mangle on the floor.
Oh yeah. All right.
Then there's also.
Oh yeah, she's just outside the house
yeah.
and Fredbear's. That's right, because the house is the only thing we ever see of any house.
Another thing that I just want to point out: there's there's the TV just there, but we don't see it in this image, but we do see in FNAF 4 the lamp post, the lamp, same as what's in sister location, just really saying that this is the same house. And also there's also the clock, which is also seen in FNAF 4, just saying that this is definitely the same house. Although it's not the same layout, it's managed to say that these houses are the same thing. Although there's still some things that don't quite make sense. It does make most sense for this to be pretty much what's happening. They're a family. That explains all the extreme measures, murder and suicide, and everybody who's in this, I guess, in on the in the company seems to be close together and knows what's happening, because otherwise they would have been shut down ages ago.
I'm thinking it's a family business, like
Yeah.
it's owned by the Aftons.
That's what I did say in part 1.
Yeah, so
And-
because we've got two Aftons building the animatronics basically, so I don't think it's a coincidence that they're both brothers as well. So obviously it's a family company.
And even just saying, it's been this was theorized like when Sister Location was first coming out. Just the fact that it's called Sister Location, just another aspect that this is something to do with family. Like technically all these places were sister locations. Just the fact that this is called Sister Location adds a whole nother meaning to it. Yeah, just supporting that these people are tied together. They know what is happening. Is the fact that this has become like the Sister Location is sort of a secret. Like if this was just anybody going into work, especially in Sister Location, you would have if you weren't in on it, you would have said something about it, because and you probably wouldn't have gone back to the next night, which is a big thing that people ask. Why go back if you know this is what it is? But if they know what's happening, and in the true endings they don't actually die, they never
the only 2/3 people to canonically die is 4 5,
and
because there's a fair bit. There's
plus
Mike Afton, Will Afton, the crying child, the boy, Miss Afton, and Henry. They're the 5 characters known to canonically die,
other than
which are coincidentally all Aftons.
Other than the other children who got stuck into this mess that they were trying to get theoretically get the souls of the lost family members and basically put them back together, both figuratively, I guess, as a family, so they can actually be together, and also physically back together, which is a big thing that's said throughout the entire franchise. Just that sort of, phrase of putting back together, and family is also mentioned a lot.
Something interesting, I think, is because one of the trailer images for Sister Location that really got a fair bit of people a bit confused was the cancelled due to leaks teaser trailer, which we didn't really know what was going on with that, but looking at the private room, in almost every single room, including the office, there are pipes everywhere, and the private room is a part of Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals, which is still open, but it's not as functional as so we know that something's happened to Circus Baby's Pizza World, as we stated last episode.
Because it never actually opened, right?
We don't know what happened. Actually, if I can try and bring that up, the document thing we found, everything just stopped. There was so much excitement around this place, and they stopped talking about it.
It's kind of interesting, and this is
I think it's got something to do with the pipes, because something was cancelled, and it just so happens that Circus Baby's Pizza World has been shut down, and the private room, which is a part of entertainment and rentals, which is linked to Pizza World, as we stated last episode, there's obviously been like a gas leak or something, which would have closed Circus Baby's Pizza World.
something kind of interesting, which is most almost definitely completely coincidental is the whole thing with FNAF 6. There was so much hype built around it, yet it was at to a point where it could have been out, but it just didn't due to something like gas leaks or stress. I mean, is that? I mean, it's probably completely coincidental.
Yeah, it
but
would be coincidental.
It's kind of, sort of, part of the storyline almost.
Yeah,
which is which is kind of funny. Like, I think that Scott has stumbled across Genius most times throughout this franchise.
I think it's just been a thing that's happened that just links into Five
It just
Nights at
happens
Freddy's.
to be there, but anything that is just like only just links in could actually be something. I mean, although it really doesn't seem like it,
Yeah,
he could be hinting to something.
yeah, he could be hitting to
And the fact
something
that
he
said
might
that,
not.
and the fact that he said he might come back to it, does that mean that will we ever see Circus Baby's pizza?
It's been shut down, and we saw in the thing about Withered Baby, which works with the shutdown thing, so that could work.
Yeah. Although
It might just be something completely coincidental. We might be going too far on this because
yeah.
sure, Scott has trolled us before with the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 troll and the sister location troll, but stress and this sort of thing, I don't think it's something that he would joke and troll about, but it just happens to be coincidental, and he might end up doing something like this. Like, he might end up bringing Pizza World back, or keep going with the Withered Baby sort of thing. We never know, because obviously we're not Scott and we can't make the decisions for him, but it would be pretty cool if something like that just came out of nowhere and just worked with what's going on.
Yeah, that would be fairly cool. But another thing that I just thought of is the fact that the animatronics don't really ever get scrapped. I mean, sure, in Sister Location they get redone and their insides get reprogrammed as such, but the fact that there's all these withered ones, they never actually get thrown out. They never get recycled. They never get destroyed, which is quite interesting. Scott might be keeping them for a reason. Are we going to see a crossover at some point?
Yeah, because everything from Five Nights at Freddy's 3 after it burned down, all the props and stuff went up for auction, and Springtrap is still there. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 after the bite of 87, which was caused by Foxy, the animatronics were stored in the parts and service room, which we can assume that either some bits have been used on the toy animatronics or they've just rotted, but they were never completely scrapped. Don't know much of... no, Five Nights at Freddy's 1, Foxy was still not scrapped. They remodeled him pretty much, but he was still out of order. It seems to me like it's like we should bring Foxy back because he would probably have been popular, but then thinking back to the bite, they didn't want it to happen again, but they already had everything made, and knowing the reality and how of Fazbear Entertainment and how everything worked on it, they're kind of lazy and low on budget, so I don't think they would have been able to have the time or effort to be able to move everything or to scrap it after spending so much money making all this stuff, which we can see in FNAF 1 or 3, I can't remember which one it was. Fazbear Entertainment Goes Bankrupt, which is FNAF 3, Fazbear Entertainment Goes Bankrupt, which is one of the main reasons why they had the auction. So Fazbear Entertainment could get a bit more money, and then we don't know if anything else happens with Fazbear Entertainment, if everyone like breaks up, or if it will come back. But we don't know. There's so much mystery involved around all this that we just don't know.
But I was thinking a reason why they might keep the animatronics rather than scrapping them is to keep it all secret, to keep it all hidden, and transferring them down to Sister Location would be the best idea, because that is underground, as we know, by the elevator. And the fact that you would need oxygen in there, it has to be underground or somewhere isolated. And the fact that we see so much industrial style things, this, and even the fact that they're remaking the animatronics, this has to be a place where all the animatronics go to at one point to either be created or to be stored. So that also gives, I guess, reason for Enid to exist, because he could very well be part of previous withered animatronics that they couldn't let the public know about, which would give more reason for Enid to want to escape, because none of his parts even were ever able to leave this system of Fazbear Entertainment. They were never given the ability to see what's outside, because there's so much secrecy in it, and if somebody were to know about it that isn't from the Afton family, their entire business and everything they worked for would be destroyed. But as for coming back, again, there's still that mystery. Why is it? Is he trying to get all the animatronics out? Is he trying to... Maybe he's trying to find... Maybe he's... Mike trying to find Will does have some influence from Enid, because he wants to destroy the Aftons so the animatronics can be free. Again, I'm not entirely sure. That is a little bit iffy, being that we don't really ever, really, other than Enid, see these beings being sentient. There it is. Sentient?
I think it's sentient.
Sentient. That one. But that is interesting, because Enid seems to be the only one who can think for himself. And whether that's...
and he's, because he's able to lure you in and sort of recreate a scenario, because Baby said that this scenario has happened before. And the fact that he's manipulating Will and Mike, and able to take control of the animatronics and sort of bend them to recreate the situation.
Also, quickly jumping back to something that was always, almost always a part of Five Nights at Freddy's, is the fact that when these children died back in FNAF 1, and has been so, been thought so throughout the whole thing, is that they would, their souls would, I guess, what's the word? I'm forgetting words, guys. Would possess the animatronic suits. But what if that was never the case? The fact that souls possessing things, that's a little bit weird. And a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's can actually be supported by real life science. What if there was never anything to do with souls possessing other things? What if that was Enid the whole time, trying to destroy the Aftons, trying to set himself free?
Trying to destroy mankind and stuff to bring himself back.
Yeah, and although it's kind of sounding like Terminator in ways, it kind of looks like a Terminator, to be honest.
But the entire souls possessing robots things, that's very cliched when it comes to horror games and stuff with souls possessing things. So
but the thing is, it's always been assumed. I've never really seen a whole I guess plotline and lore thing planned out without souls possessing these animatronics.
Yeah, sure, it's implied in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 with give gifts, give life, but we never know, because it's only implicit. It's never said downright that the souls of the children are possessing the robots. The entire give gifts, give life thing could have represented the bodies of the children being stuffed into a suit, not necessarily the souls being possessed.
Yeah, and so going on with that, while a bit of reasoning to why the children were stuffed into the suits could be to transport them down to this location again to try and reanimate the lost family members. As for puppet, marionette, or whatever it is called, he seems to be like, again, there's always been some ties between Enid and the puppet. And although we definitely can't say that they're the same person, what if they're the same being? What if they are the opposite? We know that Enid is very much a physical thing. He's made up of all the parts of the animatronics, while the puppet is more of a ghost, never really existed in a physical form. So what if these are like two opposites, good and evil, like sort of thing, where the puppet is trying to allow the souls, I guess, closure and freedom, I guess, passing on, you could say, or just because I guess it's the whole ghosting. They have unfinished business. That's why they're still around. Is that I guess the puppet stage where they're being freed, being given new life, being given afterlife.
And that's what the Happiest Day minigame is all about, because you return as a child in the marionette mask, and you go into the room with 4 children wearing the Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy mask, and a crying child, which then when you give the cake to the crying child receives a golden Freddy mask. Then all the bodies disappear and the masks fall to the ground, which means that the souls have been freed, which is what the good ending is. Which is why only the masks remain, and the suit heads in the good ending screen have no lights in it. In the bad ending screen, they have lights in it, and you also see what is thought to be Golden Freddy's mask sitting behind the Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy mask. So that gives us the thing that there are 5 children to free, and then you are basically going around as the marionette trying to free them. And then at the end, in Happiest Day, all the souls get freed, so then you've just got these empty suit heads without a Golden Freddy, because Golden Freddy was always assumed to be a ghost or a hallucination.
There's something different about the Afton children, like all the other children that are killed by Enid / William / Mike /
And
everything.
The animatronics,
they never. I guess we all see them last time. There's never really any in depth to them, and I guess that's because I'm not entirely sure actually. But it's kind of strange. But the Aftons, especially in FNAF 4, the last part of the minigame, where I'll put you back together, part of that's never seen with any of the other children. Only the boy Sammy, who was killed by Fredbear. We never really see that with any other death. And the fact that he, I guess, was represented with Golden Freddy, and the fact that Golden Freddy in the first game wasn't really there, was a hallucination, wasn't real, was, I guess, whoever we're playing as at that point, seeing Sammy in what I referred to earlier as the puppet stage, where they're awaiting the puppet to go to the afterlife, you could say. But we do again see him in FNAF 2, right? But as a physical thing, right? He was physical in that part, wasn't he? Golden Freddy.
Yes and no, because he did have a shadow and you could see his reflection on the floor, but he was able to appear as only a floating head in his jump scare and in the hallway. So it's a bit iffy in Five Nights at Freddy's
Yeah.
2
Well,
because
that could be some a recreation of what who was First Phase 1, who was the protagonist? Was it Mike or
Mike Schmidt.
Mike? Okay, so we said that Mike might be Mike after that, which gives him which I guess gives reason for Golden Freddy slash Sammy slash Crying Child slash
Everything.
Dead by Fredbear. Gives reason for him to approach him, reason to see him, because they're related. We never really hear of anybody else having experiences with Golden Freddy throughout the thing. It's only Mike, Afton, Smith, protagonist 1,
Yeah, because
Whatever.
he hallucinates with
slash
Golden
Anand.
Freddy. But
And we
so he hallucinates Golden Freddy, and we can in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. We're not sure about that.
and quickly just put in, maybe that's the point of the creation of the physical form of Golden Freddy. Maybe Mike saw this and told. I think we will be alive at this point. I think he might have been.
But then
to-
again, just to stop you there, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was before the first game.
Right.
And
right.
the protagonist in the second game was Jeremy Fitzgerald slash Fred Smith. They were the only two who saw Golden Freddy in the second game. And Golden Freddy was also supposedly the old, forgotten, stored away Fredbear suit.
Yeah, that I guess there is that point. Maybe I guess we didn't have to wait for Mike to see this hallucination. Maybe Will had already seen it and knew that. Maybe Will had already seen it and knew that this was his nephew who had been killed by Fredbear, and saw that what he looked like and created that, hoping that he would possess that, so he could be with him in some sense in a physical form. Maybe that's why Golden Freddy was created, or maybe this Golden Freddy is a decayed version of Fredbear.
Another thing that comes up is Mike Afton. Golden Freddy wasn't the only thing that he hallucinated, because in Sister Location, he hallucinates the Enid mask turning into Lolbit. After Night 4, he hallucinates a mini Rena appearing on the table on the left side on the Ballora Gallery side of the primary control module. And in Funtime Auditorium, when you use the beacon flash, on the occasion, instead of seeing Funtime Foxy there, he will see Yendo there. So he has been known to hallucinate quite a fair bit. So I'm thinking that because of his father, I think he's had some sort of experience, or that he's scared of them. And that's why he's doing it, because he's scared and he doesn't want the animatronics to come after him. So I think he's scared, and that's why he hallucinates.
Yeah, and I guess that could give reason why in the games we never really see Mike, when we play as him, go to a certain area that you wouldn't think you'd be able to go to if you were just a security guard to I guess do something about it. If he's afraid and he wants to just stop being haunted by the souls of the children and the rest of the Afton family at that point, and I guess Will had been used to it at that point, and he had acted to make these, I guess, animatronics and try and capture children. We never see that happen with Mike.
But that's another reason why Baby puts into his head is really Enid, because he's recreating a scenario. Baby is putting into Mike's head that if you disobey me, then they will come after you. That Ballora will come after you and you will die. So that's another reason why we can assume that Mike is scared and why he hallucinates a lot. And that's why he goes into the scooping room, and then Enid comes and scoops him, and then he's able to take over Mike's body and to use Mike to sort of bring Enid back.
Because we never really know everything of what Will said to Mike. We don't know that he told him about the sister location and what to look for. But we never know if he actually warned him about Enid. He might have, but
I don't think he would have, because I'm thinking that, because this is all, because with all the stuff that Will told Mike, it seems a bit, like sort of purple guyish, like he's already under the influence of Enid.
I was just about to say.
So I think that, that Will has already been scooped, and I think Mike probably knows this, or he knows what's happened with the animatronics if we go further into the timeline with like the Bite of 87 and like because the Bite of 83 would have already happened.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. I was just about to say that exact same thing. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I guess that's more motive. Again, Will. I guess we can assume that Enid doesn't have complete control over what people say or what people think, but he can twist it. He can push it so that way they would think or say a certain thing. I guess with still their original mindset in play. Like Will always knew about what was happening, but maybe he didn't want to tell Mike because he was ashamed. Maybe he didn't want to hurt him or something like that.
He probably knew Mike was scared.
Yeah, but he didn't want to tell him to go there because he knew what would happen to him. He knew that Enid would, some animatronic, something would happen to him. But once Enid had some form of control, he was able to. He wasn't able to completely change what he would have said, but he was able to twist it to get him to admit what's been happening and to tell him to go down to free her. I guess that's what he said to do, but really he was trying to capture Mike.
Another thing that comes into my head when we're talking about Mike being scared and how Mike is Will's son, we never know, because we don't know why Mike is scared, but no, that wouldn't work. I was gonna suggest that Mike could be the older brother, but the older brother was killed.
Yeah, he was killed.
And assumably became Foxy, so that wouldn't work. Maybe Mike witnessed the Bite of 83. Maybe he witnessed his cousins being part of this horrific event. Don't know, but he could have been there. He could have seen it. And something like that would have been enough to make him scared of the animatronics. If he was a child at that time, or let alone a teenager.
Any age.
Any age, yeah, that's pretty horrific.
This is a family member. But I just want to quickly...
And not only that, it's a child who's had their frontal lobe literally bitten out. So, yeah, that's a pretty horrific event to witness. So, even if he wasn't related, that would be pretty scary and something to make you a bit cautious of the animatronics and such.
Yeah, because I guess he would have known what they're capable of because he was there when they were made, and he would have been told to be somewhat cautious of them because he's part of the family. But I guess seeing that would have just absolutely destroyed his mindset of the fact that this might be right or okay. So I guess he, again, wants to escape it, but doesn't want to do wrong by his father, because he knows that, I guess he kind of knows that there might be a chance that he could bring his lost family members back. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. Could have just been Will's mindset, but yeah. So I just want to quickly say the older brother who becomes Foxy, we never really see any sympathy for him, which is interesting. He's still a family member, but what happened? We never really see any special cutscenes, any special animatronics dedicated to him.
We never know anything about him other than that he bullied his younger brother and put him inside of Fredbear's mouth. And
yeah, just the fact that he was the one who, I guess, did it. Maybe that's why we don't see anything about him, because I guess he did it. And I guess he wouldn't have done it if he knew what the animatronics were capable of. So he wouldn't have been told, because he is still fairly young. He's not, he wouldn't be as
we can
old.
assume
Yeah.
he's like 13 or 14, like a younger teenager.
Even though that's kind of, sort of, not as young as you would think. This is still murderous robots that he's trying to keep from him. So I guess he wouldn't tell Will / Henry, I guess at this point would still be around, tell what they're capable of, or like, definitely not the reason why they're doing this, because he's that young, and Mike would have probably been told at this point, because I guess he would take over from Will and Henry and try and continue this and try and bring back everybody. Yeah, so whether the fact that we don't see any special things about this other child is because he's a bit of a douche, or maybe it's because he was the one who, I guess you could say, murdered Sammy, the young boy. Although I guess he wasn't intentionally doing it. He still was the one who put him in Fredbear's mouth. Maybe it's because he felt that guilt. Maybe it's because he didn't have a reason to, I guess, stay around and be a key factor in special cutscenes and all that. I guess the puppet let him go quickly, or something like that. Maybe that's why we don't see anything about that. But another question is, how did he die? Because we've always assumed that they were killed by a purple guy, but if he was actually, they're actually related, why would purple guy do that? It could be because of anger. He could have been angry at him, but I'm not entirely sure. And what happened to the other children who were there?
But another thing is, we don't know how long it has been since the Bard of 83. Will could have already been under the influence of Enid, and Enid made him kill the older brother. So we don't know whether Will was himself or not.
Another possibility, as I said, was the guilt. The guilt that he had done something like this. He could have gone the way, I guess you could say, of Henry, who would be his father, and maybe being killed by an animatronic under the permission of his father, maybe, or there could have been something else that happened. But I guess we know that he did end up dying, but there's still a lot of questions about it, because I guess how would he go to Sisters Games? Because we know that all these other children would have gone, because we had the mask thing, we had the whole thing that we talked about the fact that they left but the masks didn't. So I guess what happened with him? Because I would doubt that he would have been well, I guess he could have been taken down to Sister Location. I mean, he's a blood relative to all the Africans, so that could give him reason to be taken and stored in Sister Location. But that all depends on how he died, because yeah, it's interesting.
Talking about like the older brother dying and stuff, with all the kids, we it's again with the souls possessing the robots. It's only been assumed that that the children were stuffed into the robots, but there is more reasoning behind it, and it's a lot more scientifically possible because a lot of this is scientifically possible. But one thing that I found that sort of proves this is with the blueprint images of Funtime Freddy.
Oh yes, I love this one.
With Funtime Foxy, I'll show you this one first. We see a transparent image of the endoskeleton and the suit. So now we've got basically things listed all around Funtime Foxy, and we can see that the only thing inside her is her endoskeleton. But with Funtime Freddy, we can see that D is a storage tank, and inside his belly here, we can see something else that is not an endoskeleton. There is something wrapped inside of him, which is assumably a child, given the size of the thing that is inside him, given the fact that Funtime Freddy is 6 feet tall. So there has been something shoved inside of Funtime Freddy, just the right size and shape to be a human child. So that basically proves that one of the ways that these kids were killed was being stuffed inside a suit.
And we see this throughout the entire design of the suits. They're either spring lock or this type of design, which I guess is multiple little chainish type segments, all wound together like we see Enid made out of. So yeah, they were obviously made to carry something, and although I guess the first lot of animatronics were made to be suits that also have an endoskeleton option, but later on they were easily modified to be able to carry children down to sister location. So yeah, I guess that because I was just thinking, the reason why I bring that up was I was thinking about, well, why would they be made like this in the first place? Because in the first place, there was no deaths. But I guess that might have been made for that sole function of being multi-purpose.
But yeah, we get a bit of a closer thing here, so it is size, because we can see the shoulders, the arms, the back, and the head, and then here the feet and legs. So there's something inside of Freddy. Oh, something else that I found while I was just looking through some pictures with as I was saying way earlier about like the gas leaks and stuff, I just realized it's not just the private room, because we've got pipes and stuff everywhere inside the breaker room, and inside Ballora Gallery and Funtime Auditorium, we do see wires and pipes around the doors of the breaker room and parts and service respectively, as well as the vent back to the primary control module. And I think we've also got stuff all inside the elevator as well. There are pipes everywhere. So the gas leak would have affected the entire place, not just the private room.
Another thing I wanted to quickly look at, is there any pipes in any of the other locations? Can you think of the top of your head any pipes? Because I can't think.
We'll take a look at the offices first.
Yeah. So I mean, it makes sense because they have to transport oxygen down to sister location, because we see in Custom Night that there is an oxygen issue.
Yeah. Right there. And there's some in the vents as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we see in the vents that there's pipes swinging about and stuff.
I guess that's proving even more of what you could very well assume is that all these locations are connected.
Ah, yeah.
Not
another pipe there, And I remember in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, one of the cams is actually covered up by wires and pipes because you can see them literally inside in the camera's view. I think it's either cam 3 or 4. Yeah, cam 3. Right across there you can see that there are pipes. So we'll check the backstage and
But yeah,
stuff.
so that's just that's just proving even more of what I said, what we could already very well assume, that all these places are connected not just story wise but physically. There are ways for people to seamlessly go from location 1 down to this location to location 3.
Yeah, there's pipes in the backstage room. Just checking the supply closet now. Not that I can see, no.
But as long as we get some
Yeah, there's some in FNAF 1,
recurring-
some in 2, some in 3,
yeah.
and there's none in 4 because obviously it mainly takes place in a house.
Yeah, but just the fact that we see all these recurring themes of pipes and wires, and sure,
Just
yeah.
around the place, inside all the different
I mean,
locations.
sure, if it's just one, like FNAF 3 would make sense because it's kind of a storage place, and I guess just the kitchen would make sense as well. But the fact that they're in every location at least once just solidifies that fact even more, that these places are physically connected to each other.
Because I've heard theories that because we don't see anything else in FNAF 1, but there has been theories that there is a basement in the first game that sort of, like, there's a stairway that sort of leads you to an underground area, or that there's a way to go to the FNAF 2 location. We never know, because it's not said, but we can tell with these that all the places are physically connected, which means that there could be something else in here, which it would make sense for for a door or a staircase to go down or across to another location to be in the backstage, because only employees are allowed in there, as we can see up here with employees only.
Not even employees as such, but specific people. Like, we never really see, say for example, somebody wears a mascot appear in 2 places at once in very close times. Only Purple Guy and yes, even Mike Smith, because these although it's a matter of years, they are sort of close together in the fact that this business and all these places were developing, and the fact that he's seen multiple times, and you play him twice, plus you never see really anybody else use that elevator in this location.
Another thing that sort of reminds me of something in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 is with because I don't think even really the animatronics are allowed past the backstage or in the backstage at certain times, because we know in the mini games of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 that the Purple Guy walks off, that Shadow Freddy walks off into a boarded room, which when you as Freddy, Bonnie, Chica and Foxy try to walk into, it comes up with an error. Then Purple Guy comes bursting out and dismantles you, and only the crying children are allowed in there, well, because they're spirits and they're able to go through things. But just the fact that only Purple Guy is seen going through there, and that even the animatronics aren't even allowed access there, that is something else. Which the boarded room could be past the backstage. That could be the extra corridor or area that leads to another location as such, because well, we know that, because we can see that the backstage has a door, so obviously that's not necessarily boarded up. And when you get stuffed, you have to get in there somehow, right? So obvious, and there's an empty endoskeleton there with suits, heads, and stuff everywhere. So obviously that's where you get stuffed. So the animatronics are allowed in there, but I don't think that they can get past there because there's an area that there is forbidden access for them to go, which that could be off in another direction inside the backstage that the camera has no view of, and that there are no cameras in that other room.
So we just see it throughout every game. Actually, has some room or door that we just can't quite get past. We never actually see in any in any way what's behind that. And even in the house, in the part with fun with Plushtrap, there's always doors which we can never really know what's behind them.
Yeah, because Plushtrap will go in there to sort of move around, but we can't move around and physically see what's in there. So it's always a mystery. There's always a place where the protagonist, cannot physically go
And that
or
place,
see.
yeah, and that place is most likely the way down to sister location, the way to every other part of this company.
Which makes sense for the Plushtrap thing because in the Breaker Room maps, we see most of the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 locations, including the Fun with Plushtrap area. So those doorways could potentially lead down to the sister location.
There's another interesting thing that even though you're playing as Mike Afton, who is an Afton, you never really see all the parts. Like, we know that there's a lot more to sister location than what's displayed on the map. Like, for example, where is Enid standing? Where is the control room of the scooping room?
Because in the map we only ever see the scooping room. There's such I think there's like the scooping area, and then there's a little hallway off to the side and little extra room, which we could assume that little extra room behind the scooping area would be the control zone where Enid is, but we never see anything of that because we only see blackness and then Enid standing behind it with his arm outstretched to something behind a wall that we cannot see, where the glass panes sort of stop and then there's a wall there, a post. So we don't see anything to do with the Scooper control module.
So even though you most of the time play as an Afton, someone who's in on this, I mean, you'd have to, because otherwise you wouldn't come back for night 2.
You'd quit after the first night.
You aren't even allowed. You aren't allowed everywhere. The only people who were allowed to were William and Henry.
Because they designed the place. Like, even some bits are off limits for Mike, because we don't see everything. Like, there's got to be more to the sister location than that, because it's such a big place. And even with the elevator, we can see that, because when the elevator stops, it doesn't open up to the danger tape and then the vent. There's a bit of extra space between there, so there's more stuff surrounding the elevator that we don't see.
Something that I would expect that would be in sister location is a manufacturing room where they actually make the robots. Because throughout the entire franchise, we never actually see a place where the robots are made, other than crude explanations in Five Nights at Freddy's world with just a table and Henry sitting behind it.
Another thing with what I was saying with the extra space around the elevator, I'm not sure if this is true or not because I haven't seen it, but I think I read somewhere that Bidybab can actually appear in one of the windows in the elevator, which
Because they were
means
those
that
windows.
there is a way to get from Circus Gallery or the Circus Control Module all the way over to the elevator, which is on the other side of the sister location, which means that there are little extra vents and areas that we don't go to and that we will never find out because it's just not revealed to us in the game, or it's not mentioned at all in the game.
Another thing that we never really see is a way into Circus Gallery. Obviously, there has to be a way, considering that, and the fact that there's physically things in there.
Because we know that from the primary control module, there's a way into Funtime Auditorium and into Ballora Gallery. But then we go through the middle vent and we get into the Circus Control Module, and there's physically no way to get into Circus Gallery. Nor is anything revealed about Circus Gallery. We don't see anything in there. Not even Baby, because she's not there on the first night when you check on her, and when the controlled shock breaks on the second night, you don't see anything there either. And I don't think you even check the light once. I think you might check it once, I'm not sure. But yeah, we don't know anything about Circus Gallery, nor how the Bidybabs got there. So obviously there has to be a way, there has to be extra ways to get in there. Which I don't think that it'll be a direct entry from Circus Gallery to the Circus Control Module. But we hear when the power goes out, we hear vents opening, things crawling in the vents, and the Circus Control vent being opened, and
The motion detector.
Yeah, the motion detector says that all these vents are open, and then we hear things crawling in the vents, which would be the Bidybabs. So obviously they've managed to get out of the Circus Gallery in through Ballora Gallery and Funtime Auditorium into the primary control module, and then into the Circus Gallery vent and into Circus Gallery. Circus Control Module, sorry.
Yeah. And it would make sense why that certain location is so difficult to get into for large things. But because the Bidybabs can easily get in and out, but Baby can never get in or out. She's trapped in there, which would make sense. She would have to be the most deadly animatronic, because she's practically built with a scooper inside of her, as well as all the extremely powerful hydraulics that we see in all of the animatronics. She would be what the Aftons would have worked most towards. She would have been the biggest project and the most dangerous, deadly machine. And whether that was Henry's original idea, because we don't know whether Henry was wanting to go through with this. We know that Will definitely was, and he turned to Purple Guy because of it, but we never really know if Henry was, I guess you could say, good, because yeah, we just don't know that much about him. But it's interesting because it was said in the book that, and also in FNAF World, that Henry was the engineer, the one who made the animatronics, and William, because they're both Afton, was more of a finance sort of thing, guy. But that's interesting because we we know that William has done something mechanical-wise to the animatronics, whether that was him directly or maybe it was technicians that we know so much about. Because again, they get more access than Mike. They are allowed.
Because they were allowed into the scooping room.
They were allowed to control. Because they were controlling the scoop for Ballora.
But yeah, so they were allowed into the scooping room and to the control, because when we went into the scooping room under directions of Baby/Anid, hand unit says you have restricted access to the area and you will be fired and sent home and stuff. No, that the fired and sent
No,
home
that
bit was private
That was
room.
private room.
But who knows? Hand Unit could have been about to say that because he got cut off by Baby slash Enid. But we do know that the scooping room as well as the private room is restricted access and we don't have access to it. So obviously Mike doesn't have any access to those two areas. Yet we go in there anyway. They're the only two restricted areas in the games that we really know anything about because we've been there. We have basically disobeyed what is meant to be going on and we've entered restricted areas.
Another thing that I just thought of was the way that's all set up. In every game, it's, except for 4, I guess, it's a work
4's not
environment. It's about, you're an employee. But if you're in on this, why would that need to exist? I think that Henry went through and created it to be a work environment, rigged up all the sound things, and Hand Unit, he is very instructive, and yeah, seems like he would be fit for a work environment rather than underground conspiracy thing. And just the fact that it System Location could be set up as a work environment, could be that was Henry's what Henry was trying to do, but after his death, Will then took over and made the animatronics deadly and stuff like that. Because according to Hand Unit, you can move quickly through. Was it Funtime Foxy or Ballora? Might have been Ballora.
It was either
It was-
one of those.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Ballora. You could just move quickly through that, and it doesn't really matter. And I guess that would make sense why Enid / Baby would warn you, because that's no longer the case. But when Hand Unit was made, it was completely safe. And I guess that could kind of explain why Hand Unit wasn't removed completely, because as was stated in the book, Will wasn't really the engineer. It was Henry, and I guess Will wouldn't really be sure how to change Hand Unit or all that, but he does know how to tamper with it and cut it off at times. But he doesn't know all about it. He doesn't know how to completely change the system. So I guess that's why it kind of still seems like a work environment kind of setting, even though
it's
Ballora.
It's
It's
Ballora.
Ballora, that's what I thought. Even though it's obvious that there's something deeper going on, and if you are Mike Afton through the 2 games that we mentioned, then it wouldn't really need to be a work environment.
Something that I want to take a look at is the garbled noises in Night 2. When it doesn't have it there, I'll download it and do it in Audacity.
Yeah, you do that. I'm just gonna have a look at the translation, you could say, when it's been fixed.
Which I'll play when I've
Yeah.
done that.
It is
Argumentative, standards, elevation, passive, heights.
If we go to what we were just talking about and apply that, passive would make sense. The fact that when Hand Unit was created, they were passive, I guess that kind of make he could have been talking about the animatronics at this point. But Will had come in and tried to take out that segment of audio. I guess I'm not entirely sure why, but maybe to hide the truth, to hide something from whoever was hearing it.
Alright, here we go.
I don't know.
What the
That's
heck?
not quite right. That was somewhat audible. A little bit too fast, but yeah.
I'll slow it down a little bit.
Argumentative, standards, elevation, passive, height.
That, yeah. It's very obvious that was what was said. Whether that, yeah.
We can tell that some of the words work with the entire sister location. We've got elevation and heights, which are it's all about altitude, and given the fact that sister location is underground and below most of the other locations, and what Tom was saying about passive earlier,
I guess standards as well comes in with
the
standards of the
working with
animatronics.
the standards.
Yeah.
Argumentative probably works with like the entire family thing, because Will and Henry.
Henry! Guys, it's been revealed. His name was actually Henry. We'll call him that from now on. Henry. Henry Afton.
Well,
Henry Afton.
Will and
That needs to be an
Henry
Easter egg. Scott, if you somehow are watching this, which is
unlikely,
as unlikely as the fact that you cancelling Five Nights at Freddy's 6 was was planned. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying.
Henry.
Henry. You need to make that an Easter egg in the next game. Henry Afton. Put it in there. I want to see it.
But yeah, how Will and Henry, they were a bit like, because they didn't really get along as too well. So that's probably where the argumentative bit comes in.
But why would he put it in the hand unit? Because this is obviously
I don't know.
somebody trying to hide the truth. Why would we need to think? Why would he have this recorded for hand unit, which was originally planned?
I don't think that Henry had this recorded originally. I think it's like Enid or someone else messing with it, because we know it's something wrong with the angsty teen voice. And with the great thing as well.
As I did.
Great.
Yeah, it's messed up, garbled audio. Like someone or something has been messing with it. Like what hand unit says later.
There seems to have been a problem with the voice synthesizer. Default settings have been restored. Please proceed.
So something's gone wrong. So whether it's Enid messing with it or whether Will has messed with it before, I don't really know.
Someone had to program, and it probably Will, who would. Yeah, I guess Henry would have. I guess Enid was probably one of Henry's sort of projects that he kind of started but didn't really finish. So that gave Will the opportunity to go in and make it his own. Get the technicians, I guess, to help him make it.
Because Will could have liked the idea, so he could have gone and tried to make it a thing, but then somehow Enid's AI got a hold of Ballora or something, because like we said last episode, Ballora seems to be referenced with Enid quite a bit in the game. So
just like that in the scene, in the part where you either go to the scooping room or the private room, the fact that Baby says Ballora is in the room, even though we can actually see Enid behind her, whether that was Ballora's endoskeleton or she was just Enid was just saying that it was Ballora. Because we actually see Enid, and the fact that the jump scare when you don't listen to Baby's instructions is Enid. Just gives reason that Ballora actually isn't there. In fact, she got scooped as well.
Yeah. But that could have been all the more reason for Enid to use Ballora's body.
Because he would have had access to the previous parts. So yeah,
I don't think
have
there's
anything else
much
to
else to say about Sister Location. So I think really that's it for Sister Location, and the next few episodes will be heading into the other 4 games.
Because there's still a few things. Oh my gosh,
there's plenty more things to go on about Five Nights at Freddy's, but they're not really Sister Location related. So that'd be more sort of going into the other games more than we have now, because really in these 2 episodes we've been linking the other games up with Sister Location, but we've mainly been talking about what happens in Sister Location and the story in Sister Location.
But I guess that does give reason why we spend so much time on it. It's because many things are linked together in Sister Location. So the other episodes may be a bit shorter and there may only be 1 part, but who knows? As I was trying to say, we have to spend more time on Sister Location because, and again, we would mention other games of the franchise, because Sister Location was a massive linking when it first came out, and even now with all the other games and all the books, it's just so big on everything, and like it was a game changer. It was the most story related of all of them. Like this Sister Location generally focused a lot more on the story than the general gameplay, because the other 4 games are more about the gameplay and about staying alive. Sister Location was about progressing through a story that happened to Will, which is now happening to Mike. I guess the most story-heavy games of the series would probably have to be Sister Location, FNAF 4, and actually FNAF World. That was there was parts that were absolutely massive on the story. The whole thing with Henry, and that was the big thing. Although it wasn't liked by the public, it was massive on the story. Especially at the very end, and because at the start and stuff, like it's really just seems like it's just you're just having a bit of fun. It's just something that doesn't really link in with everything, but with the final cutscene especially, so many people thought it was just linking to, it was referring to and teasing a new Five Nights at Freddy's game, but it was so much more than that, because it literally told us so much more about the Afton family and Henry, who is mentioned in the Silver Eyes. But I guess there was some teasing to Sister Location with Baby and the eyes, the color, which was a massive theory with linking all the characters and solidifying more of the story. But yeah, that's about all we have to say for this episode. We do want to move on to some other games. We'll probably do some reviews on new ones. If you guys have something that you would like to see, tell us, tweet it out, put it in the comments. If you want us to take a look at some older games, because I do enjoy plenty of the older games. Yes, because we're also doing gameplays as well, so if you just want us to play a game, we'll do that. If you want us to review, and if you want us to do some theories, or just talk about the game in general and our thoughts on it and what we think of it, then no matter whether it's old or new, because sometimes the older games are pretty good. Yeah. Yes, just some games for us to do with Game Chat in the description below, in Twitter, at gmushroom and at SkaterGamer, and actually guys, put it in the comments. You can't put things in the description. I know you're trying. I said the description. Stop trying to put it in the description. No, you can't edit it. Stop clicking. Stop. Comment section. I meant to say don't comments. Listen to him. Don't listen to him. He screams like a goat. He's part goat. Don't listen to him. I always say description. I don't know why.
Put it down in the comments
We put stuff
section
in the description
below.
section, okay?
Put in the comments section below.
You're really trying hard not to say description.
And tweet your suggestions to us as well. That was an easy one to say.
Mhm.
I always say description for some reason. It's like I have some sort of obsession with the description or something.
That could be very well true. Anyway, guys, that's a theory for another day.
Yeah.
Yes, theory about Sam's obsession with descriptions. I'll see you later. Actually, we will see you later. I always say that. I will see you later. No, only I will see you later. He's not going to see you later. Don't worry about him. I will see you later. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.